All right, welcome back. Wilson is already standing by to help us dissect inflation impact on subsector, retail subsector of Nigerian economy. So, Mr. Wilson, I welcome you to the show
Yeah,
today.
thank you.
All right, so let's get down to the bulk of our discussion. How did you receive the news of the dropping in inflation in Nigeria from 18.022 to 16.05?
Well, it's always good news for us analysts to see a drop in inflation. However, what matters is how it impacts the life of the average Nigerian. And again, I had a conversation with somebody earlier today, and he was asking me, what is the implication of inflation reducing by about 2 point something percent? And how would that impact prices of goods in the market? And I had to explain to him that inflation in itself is the increase, the percentage increase in price of goods and services. So when we say inflation is going down by percentage, it means the rate at which the prices of goods and services are increasing is reducing. That does not mean that instantly you are going to start buying something that you used to buy for 5 naira at 4 naira 50 kobo. What it means is that if it used to increase by 100 naira every week or every day, if it reduces to, say, 20%, then it means it will now be increasing by 20 naira every day. So that is what it means. So the prices of goods and services will never really go down until the rate of change in price goes into the negative. So this, we have to put it this straightforward so that the average Nigerian on the street can understand the implication. But does that mean it's not a good news? No, it is a good news. The fact that it is no longer climbing means that something good is happening, and if we keep at it long, then it will get to a place where prices of goods and services will begin to go down. But what we can see from this is stability in the prices of goods and services. There will be relative stability in the prices of goods and services, which is good for planning, for both production and for retail consumption.
Interesting. But listen, I want to also help our viewers to really understand this technicality of explaining what inflation is all about. Because I had an encounter with some people that need to break it down. But it seems that many Nigerians are here to fathom the technicality of understanding inflation. But from your own side, how can we really break this down? Because from all you have said, it may still sound technical to some people. When you say reduce by 20%, when you say, because as you rightly pointed out, many of our viewers out there, many Nigerians are looking at a situation by something of 1,000 yesterday can come down to 100 naira today. But
Yeah.
when we are now using technicality to explain it to them, they get confused, and most times they feel that, okay, someone is defending the government. But how can we ensure that we do this in a way that they can really understand? So just go over and do that for me in another 1 minute.
Okay, I think that the best way to do that is to first of all help them to understand the basic definition of inflation. What is inflation? Inflation simply means the rate of increase in the prices of goods and services. So what it means is that if a particular product is sold for 5 naira today, after a period of time, say one day, you come back tomorrow, is now sold for 6 naira. That is a steady increase. You come another day, he's selling for 7 naira. You come another day, he's selling for 8 naira. That's a steady increase of 1 naira. So you will say the inflation is at the rate of 1 naira per day. Okay, that's a steady increase. I'm not using rate of change because we have deflation and we have inflation.
Exactly.
Deflation is when the price keeps going down. Inflation is when the price keeps going up. So now these changes per period is what is calculated as inflation. At the national level, we don't do it per one product. So it's a basket of several products and services, and then they take an average of the change in their price vis-a-vis the increase in their prices. So when you hear inflation, It's just about how much, by how much the prices of things are increasing in the market. So whenever you see a reduction in inflation, it means the amount by which products are increasing in price in the market has reduced. So let's say the analogy of the 1 naira per day. Suppose that we say inflation has reduced by 50 kobo. It means per day now, that product will only increase by 50 kobo, no longer 1 naira. That is what inflation, reduction in inflation simply means in a layman language. I think this is about the most basic I can put it.
Oh, you have tried so much, Wilson, to really break it down to this level, and I believe that most of our viewers have gotten that clear understanding and clarity on it. Now, let's now take a look at the aspect of this inflation increase impacting or reducing, impacting the retail subsector. Take us through on, first and foremost, help us understand the people in the retail sector first.
Okay. When you hear retail, you are usually talking about consumer goods. Okay, what the average individual home consumes. By consumption, we mean usage. What they buy and consume, like your bathing soap, your cream, your cooking oil, all of those things. They are the things we consume directly. So the retail sector simply means the sector that caters directly to the final consumers. Okay, although we still have a little bit of academic exercise to separate direct retail that sells to the direct consumer and distributors that are in between the manufacturers and then the retail store. That's an academic exercise, but overall, these people sell to us that buy and use directly. So that's the retail sector. That's what it consists of. Any area where people go to buy things and consume directly, your supermarket, your restaurant, wherever it is that the direct user is buying from, constitute the retail sector. Now, let's look at how inflation has affected it over time. Let's take, for instance, you used to buy full tank for your car. When fuel was selling at, say, 197 per liter. And you're doing that because maybe you have assigned 15,000 naira from your income to buy fuel every week. So by the time you go to the filling station, that 15,000 can give you about 70 to 80 liters, which is equivalent to the full tank of most of the 2.4 liter engine that we drive around here. But if the price of fuel then increases to 400 naira, that your 15,000 can only buy half of what it used to buy. And because your income have not increased, what will you do? You are now going to buy half of what you used to buy. So the demand for that petroleum, for instance, will reduce. And what will be the impact on the seller? The seller will have less sales. And if he has less sales, the fixed component of his business will increase. Fixed components, because when you talk about cost, there are two components of cost. There's the fixed cost. Those are the costs that you will pay whether or not you produce and sell only one unit. And there are variable costs. These ones are proportional to the number of units you produce or sell. So for instance, a supermarket will pay its rent irrespective of whether or not it sells any product. So if the demand reduces, it means the fixed component per product will increase. It will therefore reduce the profitability of that business. And what can happen? The business will begin to look to optimize. So what do you want to do? You retrench some people and give some people more work. The people that are retrenched do not have any longer money in their hands to buy. And the people that are working more now are prone to stress and health issues, thereby spending money in the area of health and other areas that they ought not to spend. So if you want to go down this rabbit hole, the branches are so many. So you can see that inflation from that side will affect those who work in the industry, people who buy from the industry, and the organization that operate in that industry. All of them will hear it. And at the end of the day, it trickles into the national economy. Even from the aspect of cost of capital. Cost of capital means how much you pay as interest on the money you raise for production. When there is inflation, the direct meaning is that the money you have can no longer buy the amount or quantity of goods and services it used to buy. So it is not only on the side of the consumer. That also applies to the side of the producer or manufacturer. So the manufacturer is going to use more money to buy less inputs. And at the end of the day, it means the price of his final product has to go up. And what is the basic economic theory between demand, supply, and prices? So when the price increases, what happens? Demand will decrease. And it will trigger the chain that I explained earlier. So you can see from both the consumer's restriction aspect or the producer's restriction or constraint of price hike, inflation has a negative impact on the economy at large.
Exactly. And now, talking about the economy at large, we've seen this also brings us to the space whereby we now link this particular issue to the issue of the volatile exchange rate of Nigerian currency. How do we explain this to our people, and how are we going to ensure that in our explanation we also make them to understand why their purchasing power is also reducing going forward?
All right. Now, let's look at exchange rate in itself. Exchange rate simply means how much of your currency exchanges with a unit of the currency of other countries.
Exactly.
That's simply what it is. Why is it important to a citizen of a country like Nigeria? We hardly produce most of the things we consume, so we import. And when you import, you have to purchase, so to say, the currency of the other country in order to buy from them. For instance, the global standard for transaction in terms of currency is the American United States dollars. So by the time you are buying more from outside, it means there is less demand for your own currency. And just like I mentioned earlier, the theory of economics applies. When there is less demand, the prices will decrease. When there is more demand, the prices will go up. Now, on that aspect, if Nigeria continue to depend on what is produced in other countries, then definitely the demand for dollar will be high and other hard currencies. And thereby, the value of our own currency will continue to go down. One way to reverse that is, one, to begin to produce so that we export as much as we import. That way we can counterbalance the balance of trade. Okay, so, and if we can do more than we import, we can export more than we import, that means the value of Naira will begin to pick up. Then the other side, if we can begin to produce what we consume and consume what we produce, that will also impact the value of the Naira as a currency. Now, you talked about how it affects the average Nigerian person. Because if you sample check an average Nigerian today and look at what they are putting on, from their hair to their wristwatch to their shirt, trousers, and even shoe, at least 8 in every 10 people, you will see that 80% of the things on their body is imported. That means for them to purchase this item anytime the value of Naira dips, for them to purchase this item, they have to gather more Naira. Let me give a very practical example. Suppose a shoe costs $100, and at the moment, exchange rate is 1,000 Naira to $1. So the price of that shoe in Nigeria, without shipping costs and all of that, will be $100 times 1,000. That's 100,000. But what if the exchange rate now moves from 1,000 to 1,500 to $1? That means that shoe will now cost 150,000. So somebody who ought to have been able to buy 3 of the shoe before because he has 300,000 will now only be able to buy 2. So you can see the prices of what we use here goes up anytime the exchange rate goes up against the naira, because we are buying these things from outside. If we produce at home, we might be able to withstand the shock of that exchange rate. I say we might be able to, because producing at home does not mean you will not buy certain components from other countries.
Exactly. Now talking
But
about
if we reduce the quantity of the components we buy from outside, then we can bypass the exchange rate shock.
exactly. Now, most retailer outlets have complained about low patronage, customers are not coming here anymore. But on the basis of purchasing power, this has been a complaint of consumers on their part. And there is this argument that to solve the problem of purchasing power, they should increase minimum wage, they should increase salaries of workers. But what do you make of increasing salaries of workers, increasing minimum wage, pari passu the complaint of retailers who are not getting more sales as expected, and on the part of the government who also want to control inflation via monetary policy of controlling the cash in circulation?
I have always maintained that increase in minimum wages is not the way to go. It's a cosmetic fix. It's just like you have an underlying wound, but all the time you keep putting bandage without treating the cause of the wound. Whereas the surface will look beautiful, underneath the wound will continue to fester. So increasing minimum wage is not the ideal thing. What we should focus on is how can we make more value ascribed to the little we are paying. That should be the question. First of all, I have mentioned this and I have continued to stick with it, that we need to focus on local production. What are the things that we have the comparative advantages in producing? We have to produce them enough to consume at home and to also export. And we have to do them in that order. What are the things we have the highest demand for? We have to make sure that we begin to produce those things at home and bring efficiency to it. Then the other part of it, what about shared facilities? Take, for instance, Abuja is the federal capital, the capital city of the giant of Africa. We don't have an effective, we don't even have, before I put the word effective and efficient, we don't have a public transport system. Suppose we have a public transport system that is running on a composition of CNG and electricity today. Many people will not drive their vehicle today. So the money we spend on fuel will be saved by more than 90% if we have an effective transportation system. I get out from my estate, enter a public transport system that is as cheap as 100 naira to my junction. From there, I enter a bus, and then I get to the town, and I'm able to enter a small taxi within town. And I'm spending less than 1,000 naira to and fro every day. Why will I drive my car? We are talking about healthcare system. The healthcare system is not able to run today because corruption has destroyed everything we have in the country. Where healthcare system works is not by subsidy, it's by insurance. All of us pay a little amount of money into a pool every month. Because not all of us will get sick at the same time, that money will be enough to take care of those who are sick at any particular time. But today, are Nigerians taking insurance? No. Because if you take insurance, when you are sick, the insurance will look for reasons not to pay. And there is nobody you can turn to. So you can see this kind of... So if we begin to make these things available, shared infrastructure, shared services that are cheaper for us, our salary will be able to buy more. And then we won't be asking for more. By the time you increase salary, we are putting more money in the system. And this more money means there are more money chasing few goods and services. What happens again by theory of economics? When demand is higher than supply, what happens? Prices go up. We are back to inflation.
Exactly.
So we need to be more strategic in fixing this problem. And overall, we cannot discuss all of this without touching on corruption.
Exactly.
Which is the grandmaster and the absolute cause of most of these challenges.
I will see. We need to leave it here right now because more of this discussion is still developing, talking about the extent of the aspect of the Nigerian retail sector and inflation. So we'll revisit this issue, and I know you'll be available for us to help us to dissect it in coming days. But thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Have
So
a great
enjoy your weekend and your outing over there.